In the entry-level mechanical watch world, the watch that made its mark in 2021 was undoubtedly the Tissot PRX. In 2022, the watch of the year in this segment was Citizen Tsuyosa, which made an unexpected move. For 2023, I can say that my personal preferences were Hamilton Khaki Field Expedition and the Orient Mako 40. As for 2024, I haven't seen any serious moves so far, until Citizen Zenshin came out a few weeks ago. Japanese watch giant Citizen had already made a serious impact in the integrated bracelet sports watch segment with Tsuyosa. In fact, they recently released a mini-seconds version by making some improvements and changes to the Tsuyosa, which I also have in my hand right now and which we will be reviewing in another video soon. But it was a big surprise to me that they made a new move and released a new, completely different integrated bracelet watch. I want to emphasize that this is a separate watch because I've also heard this model being called Titanium Tsuyosa in some sources. No guys, this model is called the Zenshin. It's a completely different watch, and this time the goal, as I see it, is to kill the Tissot PRX. Yes, I said the target is to kill the PRX. This is not my analogy. When you look at the YouTube reviews, you'll see that many content producers almost anonymously refer to this model as the PRX killer. Yes, there are similar aspects, but that comparison is a completely different subject. If you want, we can prepare it as a separate video and talk about it later on. Today, we will focus on this new Zenshin model by seeing all 4 colors offered to the market for the first time side by side. No, I have not seen anyone reviewing all the colors at the same time, so this will be our difference today, like the many watch reviews on this channel before. And before we jump into the tech specs, it's worth mentioning the most important detail that sets this apart from its competitors. This watch is made entirely of titanium, my friends, not steel as we are used to. Until the 50s or even the end of the 60s, we didn't actually come across steel materials in watch production. At that time, brass, which was easier to shape, was used, and it was chrome-plated for a metallic appearance. And these chrome platings were also damaged after time, and the brass cases underneath were helpless against corrosion and rust. With the advancement of the industry in the 60s, watch brands turned to steel. But Citizen preferred to try something more difficult. Titanium is a harder metal than steel. It is much more difficult to work with than steel. It is harder and more durable than steel, but also much lighter. It is also anti-allergic, so even those with metal allergies can use it without any problems. For this reason, in 1964, Citizen established a research institute in Japan and started to process titanium. In 1970, Citizen was able to produce the world's first titanium wristwatch. But they had still other problems to overcome. Titanium was resistant to rust, harder than steel, so even with hard impacts, there were no deformities such as denting or crashing. However, the outer surface was more easily scratched. Citizen managed to solve this problem 30 years later in the year 2000. With a special surface coating and hardening process called Duratect, they increased the scratch resistance of the material by 5 times compared to steel. Immediately afterwards, the brand started to use the name Super Titanium for titanium watch produced with this patented Duratect technology. Zenshin, the subject of our video today, is also a Super Titanium watch, and honestly, this is something we are used to seeing in Citizen's more expensive models. Let's talk about the pros and cons at the end of the video, and now let's take a look at the technical details of the watch. The case diameter of the watch is 40.5 mm, the thickness is 11 mm, and lug-to-lug length is just 43 mm. Citizen has done a better job than its competitors with similar integrated bracelets in the case connection part of the bracelet, and thanks to the fact that the first link can be folded down completely in this way, it is ensured to wrap the wrist even on the small wrists. The case and bracelet are made entirely of super titanium, as we just mentioned. Titanium also has different degrees of alloys accordingly both the degree of hardness and color changes. The material used in this model is more grayish than steel, almost close to the color we call gunmetal. Matte surfaces have been obtained by brushing on the top and sides, while the chamfers and the high dome cut bezel have a very successful polishing and shiny appearance. The crown is at the 3 o'clock position and it's a push-pull type crown. It's very easy to grip and use. Although it is push-pull, Citizen has managed to reach 100 meters of water resistance in this model, and in this sense we can say that they have managed to get ahead of the Tsuyosa's 50 meters. There is no logo on the crown, just like on much more expensive Series 8 models. We can say that Citizen doesn't care about this detail as much as I do. However, on the opposite side of the crown, at the 9 o'clock position, this extra cut applied to preserve the symmetry in the case front got full points from me. It's a serious additional workmanship and I think the result is very successful. Another big advantage of the titanium case is the weight. Together with the bracelet, this watch weighs only 99 grams. This is about 60% lighter than a watch with stainless steel, and it provides serious comfort on the wrist. However, for users who are used to stainless steel watch, this lightness may also bring a feeling of cheapness. This may take some time to get used to, but once you get used to it, you may find it difficult to wear a stainless steel watch next time. Speaking of weight, let's talk about the bracelet. As I said, this is an integrated bracelet that will not cause problems even for friends with small wrists due to the way it is connected to the case, and this is extra comfortable due to its lightweight. Each U-shaped link is made of matte brush surfaces and polished transitions on the bottom, preventing a completely matte and soulless appearance. I think it's a very balanced application. The bracelet tapers slightly down towards the clasp. It could taper a little more for a more elegant feeling, but it looks aesthetically pleasing enough as it is. The clasp is unfortunately a simple folded clasp that we see a lot in entry-level Japanese watches. However, at least this part is also made of titanium. I've witnessed many titanium watches using stainless steel for the clasp in order to reduce costs, which was a bad surprise for watch lovers with metal allergies. This watch is all titanium, and the word Zenshin in Japanese also means head to toe. A nice bonus information for geeks like us. Before we jump into more details, I'd like to welcome you guys to the Watch Loop channel. Hi, my name is Erk and this is a brand new channel all about watch and horology. I'm not a watch dealer and no, I'm not trying to sell you anything here. But I have good connections with many brands and I believe I make videos a little different than the many other watch channels out there. If you are into watch like myself and want to be one of the first people to see new watches, you may consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get back to the review now. Okay, let's talk about the movement before moving on to the details of the dial. Zenshin has Citizen's in-house developed 8213 caliber automatic movement. Technically, the second end of the 8215 movement we see in Tsuyosa is separated from the center and moved to the sub-dial, creating a milliseconds watch. Of course, they would have made a serious difference if they had opted for one of their recently developed 9 series movements, but I guess they wanted to be competitive in prices. It's a reliable movement with a 40-hour power reserve, hacking and manual winding features, and has proven its durability over the past decades. Since there is no decoration on the movement, they could have thought of a closed case back, but let's say that they used a crystal back again because they are targeting the audience who will probably own their first mechanical watch. And finally, let's move on to the front. On the front, of course, there is a sapphire flat-cut crystal, which we know is highly resistant to scratch. Citizen announced 4 different dial colors for this model on its global website. I have all 4 in my hand right now, and we will go over the colors one by one in a moment. But if we look at the general details, first of all, the striking dial surface draws attention. When you think of such textured dial surfaces, Grand Seiko models may come to mind first. Of course, the prices of watches with these dials, each of which is individually crafted by hand and can be called a work of art, are at price levels that are difficult to obtain. However, with the advancing technology, watch manufacturers are now able to achieve similar looks with the help of machines, and one of the most successful brands in this regard is Citizen. Thanks to this texture given to the dial surface, they have managed to provide both depth and color reflections in different shades in different lights. Moreover, I can say that they have achieved this by presenting a very organic look. Even in such macro detail shots, I could hardly find any mistakes. On this textured dial, the button indices filled with lumino are immediately noticeable. Here, maybe they could have designed the indices a little higher to increase the sense of depth, but I have no complaints about it as it is. After Tsuyosa's baguette design hands, Zenshin has opted for pencil-type hands this time. I think the slightly thicker design of the hour hand has added a serious plus value in terms of legibility. The second hand has been moved to a completely different area, this time as milliseconds. Here again, an extra depth has been given and a surface with circular rings has been obtained unlike the main dial. This makes the sub-dial seconds much more prominent and easy to recognize at first glance with a beautiful sunburst look. Although this second sub-dial, which is placed asymmetrically on the dial other than the usual 6 or 9 positions, surprises at first glance, it also adds a different aesthetic to the watch design. Apart from the Citizen inscription at the 12 o'clock position, the automatic and titanium inscriptions, which are placed symmetrically next to the sub-dial to balance the design, are printed. I honestly never thought I would like this different arrangement, but I did. The result is a very different design that I want to look at again and again. The calendar window at 3 o'clock position seems a bit small, but if they enlarged it, it will probably affect the design balance very badly. Maybe they should remove the whole date window, and for my taste it will be better. The looms are also generally successful. It's not super strong, but the loom, especially on the hour and minute hands, which have a wider application area, is enough to ensure legibility for a satisfactory period of time. So that concludes the general review. And now we need to talk about the 4 available colors. I said that titanium is a darker color than steel by nature. Probably with this in mind, Citizen seems to have gone for more pastel colors unlike Tsuyosa. The exception may be this turquoise color. It seems to be the color where the dial surface texture and the sunburst effect of the sub-seconds dial are most prominent. This color will be an important alternative for those looking for a sportier look. I think this petroleum green color will be my favorite. By the way, I will be happy if you write your favorite color as a comment below, and so it will be a nice little poll for all of us. In this color option, careful eyes have noticed that the outer circle with the minute tracker is black. This makes the dial look a bit smaller than it actually is and gives it a bit of retro feeling. Being a pastel color, I think it goes well with the titanium grey. It's a very versatile look that can easily be worn with a suite. As far as I can see, the white dial is one of the most appreciated ones by YouTube reviewers. In the absence of a steel bracelet white dial sports watch, this titanium bracelet sports watch is quite remarkable. I think this textured surface on the white dial evokes the Grand Seiko Snowflake model, one of the favorites of watch geeks. Of course, it is not at that level, but we can say that it is a really affordable alternative. It's also a serious advantage that white dial watch can be easily combined with any color of clothing. In the blue dial option, we see again that the minute tracker is designed in black, just like the petroleum green one. Again, a very pastel shade of blue has been chosen to match the titanium color. Blue is a much more traditional dial color than the green option. It's not an adventure that will go out of fashion soon. For those who will choose a dark dial, this seems to be the most classic choice at the moment. Now that we have gone over all the colors, let me sum up my final thoughts on the watch. Guys, the most important advantage and also the handicap of this watch is that it is still titanium. To be honest, I haven't had much experience with titanium watch before. I know that it scratches easily, but due to the nature of the material, I know that these scratches in question are oxidized by contact with the air and they are less visible. Moreover, as I mentioned at the beginning, Citizen applies an extra surface hardening. According to their claim, it creates a surface that is 5 times harder to scratch. I don't have a chance to verify this as I haven't tried it. However, if friends who have experience with Citizen's post-millennium super titanium watch write their comments below, we can all have an idea together. On the other hand, titanium is much lighter. This lightness provides great comfort, but also it gives a slight feeling of cheapness. It's actually a more expensive and special material, but you have to know the pros and cons. I have friends who try to wear only titanium watch, and I have also known many people who try to avoid titanium. Apart from that, I really like the craftsmanship on the case, and the detailing and the harmony of the colors on the dial exceeded my expectations. The bracelet is also very comfortable on the wrist, but I would have been happy if the clasp was really better. After all, there is no such thing as the perfect watch. If there was, everyone would buy it. But this watch is a great alternative with its super titanium case, different and, in my opinion, very beautiful dial design details. It's a serious competitor not only to its Swiss rivals, but also to its own brother Tsuyosa. Today, I think we reviewed the mechanical watch model that we will talk about for many years to come. Thanks for watching till the end. I wish you guys the best until I see you soon.